In our headlines on this Thursday, January 9th, here in South Korea. Authorities pledged to undertake their second attempt at arresting the president as if it were their last, prompting widespread speculation about the possibility of violent confrontations with his security team. Meanwhile, the government here is poised to boost the supply of 16 essential items popular during the Lunar New Year celebrations by 150% to ease the burden of grocery bills by keeping prices stable. And over in Las Vegas, Team Korea is boasting a big presence at this year's Consumer Electronics Show, with smaller startups joining tech giants like Samsung and LG to raise the total count of Korean booths at the event to some 900. Tensions are mounting as we await the execution of a second arrest warrant against President Seollal following an earlier failure to detain him last week. Now, for more on the latest events on the ground, I have our Lee Soo-jin standing by live at the president's residential area, braving the bitter cold. Soo-jin, welcome. Now, do we know anything about the possible timing of the next arrest attempt?
So I've been here near the president's residence since early morning, but I get to see anything particularly out of the ordinary or any signs that the preparations for the second arrest attempt is taking place. You can kind of see a glimpse of the crowd behind me as you have for a while now. And judging by the current situation, it seems unlikely that the execution of the second arrest attempt will take place. But no one knows exactly when the execution of the second arrest warrant will take place because both the court and the CIO has not revealed the exact extension period of it. While warrants are typically valid for 7 days, a judge may extend the duration if deemed necessary. It's speculated that the CIO is most likely to attempt to arrest Yoon on Friday or next Monday or Tuesday, as the weekend is likely to bring even bigger crowds. We can already see heightened security here as well. But also, and this includes installation of barbed wires as well as numerous cars have been blocking the entrance.
Right. So while his security team seeks to protect him, what has been the response from the president's legal team to the latest events?
So Yoon's legal team has been arguing about the validity of the second arrest warrant, more specifically of the fact that it's been issued by the Seoul Western District Court. Let's take a listen to what President Yoon's lawyer has said regarding this.
The president will stand trial if the CIO indicts him or requests a warrant with detention from another court.
He also said that the Seoul Western District Court, which falls outside the CIO's jurisdiction, should not handle these matters. The lawyer also refuted allegations that President Yoon is in hiding. Here's what he said.
I went to the presidential residence yesterday evening and met the president. This is really unbelievable, false propaganda and a manipulation of events.
Right, some tough words there from the president's lawyer. Meanwhile, Soo-jin, protesters both in support of and in opposition to the president appear to be little affected by the brutally frigid weather today. Do tell us more.
So when we first arrived, there actually wasn't a big crowd, and that's probably because of the bitter cold. But now you can kind of see and also hear the crowd that has gathered here, and the crowd actually behind me that's kind of blocked by buses, so you can kind of see glimpses of it. These are pro-Yoon protesters. And you can kind of tell by the signs that they're holding, such as "Stop the Steal," as well as flags that they're waving in the air. And the slogan that I mentioned before has been popularized by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's supporters, who also who's claimed that the election is rigged, and many of his supporters in Korea can kind of relate to this because they believe that the president may be stolen from them as well. And the crowd for anti-union protesters is also here. That's from the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions further down the street, making their voices heard. And yes, as you alluded to, the people gathered here are braving the cold. Some had tents set up along the road. It's clear that the protest, which has briefly subsided, started escalating again on Wednesday after the second arrest warrant was issued on Tuesday evening, but as of today remains under control. And with the date and exact time of the execution of the second arrest warrant not yet clear, protests are likely to continue well into the night today as well. And that's all I have for now, but there are more updates in our later newscast. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Sujin, thank you so much for braving the cold to bring us that report. A big thank you to our camera crew as well. That was our East Sujin reporting live on the latest with regard to the president's standoff with anti-corruption investigators. Meanwhile, at the National Assembly earlier today, 6 opposition parties introduced a revised bill to pave the path for a special probe into insurrection charges against President Yoon Seollal. Now, this follows the rejection of an earlier bill during a revote yesterday afternoon. The revised bill hands the recommendation, that is, of the 2 candidates for the special counsel investigation to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court instead of the opposition Democratic Party, and also removes the opposition's veto power over the recommended candidates. The new bill will be put up for a vote next week. The ruling People Power Party, for its part, has said it will discuss its own revisions to address controversial provisions. The government here is poised to boost the supply of essential grocery items popular during the Lunar New Year celebrations to keep prices stable. Our Lee Shi-hu reports.
The government is increasing the supply of 16 key grocery items for Seollal by 150% to help lower people's grocery bills.
We are prioritizing a stable supply of grocery items so that an imbalance in food supply and demand does not lead to weakened consumer spending during the Seollal holidays.
The supply of vegetables, fruit, and meat will be the largest it's ever been at 265,000 tons. The list of selected food items includes cabbages and radishes, apples and pears, and beef and pork, all commonly enjoyed by Koreans during the holidays. It is also slashing import tariffs on fruit from overseas. Further, more onnuri gift cards, which can be used at traditional markets, will be available for purchase at discounted rates. And in line with the government's efforts to promote domestic travel by designating an additional weekday, January 27th, as a temporary holiday, KTX and SRT train tickets will be marked off by up to 40%. Some 150,000 employees at small and medium-sized companies in the country will be given 400,000 Korean won, or around $274 in domestic travel cost support. This, along with additional measures, is a plan to better assist small business owners. Beginning next month, the government will offer financial support for delivery and shipping fees and early tax refunds, among other assistance. Lee Shi-hu, Arirang News.
In other news, the UN Security Council convened earlier on Wednesday at its headquarters in New York to condemn North Korea's latest ballistic missile launch, pointing to its broader callous implications. Our Kim Jung-sil has more.
The international community is strongly condemning North Korea's January 6th missile test. At a UN Security Council meeting, South Korea's permanent representative Hwang Jung-guk delivered a strong condemnation of North Korea's actions, linking the missile test to broader humanitarian and geopolitical issues.
The January 6th missile launch shows exactly where this blood money ends up. The DPRK sacrifices its own people to fuel its nuclear ambitions and further contributes to death and destruction in Ukraine. It must stop now. The soldiers' blood is crying out from the ground.
Hwang revealed that the South Korean government estimates at least 1,100 North Korean casualties in Russia's war with Ukraine. He also warned of North Korea's increasing access to advanced military technology through illegal collaboration with Russia.
The world's most isolated and impoverished regime under stringent Security Council sanctions is increasingly having an access to a high-end dual-use technology and material, as the DPRK is intensifying its illegal military cooperation with Russia.
The U.S. echoed South Korea's condemnation of the missile launch.
This launch, as well as each of the over 100 ballistic missile launches it has carried out since the beginning of 2022, is a flagrant violation of the UN Security Council's resolutions.
Meanwhile, reports from Ukraine reveal significant losses for North Korean troops fighting alongside Russian forces.
The Russian army lost up to a battalion of infantry, including North Korean soldiers and Russian paratroopers, and that's tangible.
Pyongyang claims the missile launched on January 6 reached speeds of Mach 12 and traveled 1,500 kilometers, something Seoul disputes, suggesting this was an exaggeration. Experts point out that this latest missile launch may reflect Pyongyang's strategy to assert its influence, particularly in light of the upcoming political transitions in the U.S. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Any attempt by the incoming Trump administration to shift the status quo of U.S. soldiers stationed in South Korea will be met with strong bipartisan pushback. Now, this is according to Andy Kim, the first ever Korean-American senator. Our foreign affairs correspondent Eun covers his remarks.
Amid speculation that President-elect Donald Trump could possibly seek to pull American troops out of South Korea, the first ever Korean-American senator, Andy Kim, warned that he believes there will be strong bipartisan pushback if Trump were to hint at taking such action. Speaking to reporters in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, Kim stressed that the United States also strategically benefits from defending its ally in Asia. Commenting on concerns about the incoming Trump administration's foreign policy, Kim vowed to protect alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Pacific region and serve as a bridge between South Korea and the United States. He specifically said that he will stand up vigorously if Trump attempts to use military or economic coercion against Asian partners. The senator also addressed the turmoil in South Korea following President Yoon's declaration of martial law and said the country must focus on resolving political uncertainty, noting that South Korean politicians need to be very careful with their thoughts.
It's really a critical time for stability, not for any particular person to try to use this to advance their own political, ambitions.
Kim also said that he was able to witness a sense of resilience in South Korea's democracy, saying that this gives reassurance that the situation will work through smoothly. Born and raised in America as a son of Korean immigrants, the three-term Democratic congressman won the Senate seat in New Jersey in an election in November. Peun's Arirang News.
Also in Washington, earlier on Thursday, Trade, Industry and Energy Minister An Deok-keun and his U.S. counterpart Jennifer Granholm signed a memorandum of understanding on principles concerning nuclear exports and related cooperation. In a joint statement, the two sides highlighted their mutual commitment to maximizing the peaceful use of nuclear energy under the highest standards of safety, security and non-proliferation. Korean companies are boasting their largest presence at the annual Consumer Electronics Show this year, ranking just behind the host U.S. and neighboring China in the number of booths at the event. Our correspondent Moon Hye-ryun reports from Las Vegas.
Rows upon rows of banners that read "Korea greet attendees at a CES convention center in Las Vegas. After the United States and China, South Korea ranks third for the number of booths at CES 2025, with a record-breaking 900 or so exhibitors in attendance. That's not only internationally renowned tech giants such as Samsung, SK and LG, but small to medium-sized businesses as well. This year, the Ministry of SMEs and Startups set up the biggest K-startup booth at CES to date, and Qatar partnered with the Trade Ministry to also form the largest Korea pavilion.
Located in the lower level of the convention center, this is where startups and SMEs are working their way from the bottom up with tech innovations.
And they are indeed working their way up. In fact, a large portion of the innovation awards won by Korean companies this year were won by SMEs, accounting for 3/4 of the total, bringing South Korea to the top in terms of the number of innovation awards won at this year's CES. Many of these awards were won in artificial intelligence and digital health, which are among the key industries in the spotlight this year. Generative AI made its way into Team Korea's booths. I Live among them with its graphics platform that produces graphic motion with a simple worded prompt. What would usually take hours to achieve now takes just a few seconds with a few words and the click of a button.
Our long-term vision is to create an ecosystem that helps anyone create 3D content easily and conveniently, share them, and generate revenue.
Medica's biotech is among the CES Innovation Award honorees for digital health, and its mobile app detects the level of damage from wounds by taking a photo and providing a diagnosis and possible treatment. The application is designed to provide remote treatment in areas where healthcare is not readily available, and the firm hopes to expand its service to cover other types of wounds such as burns.
The reason of developing our app is to help the people in less infrastructure countries like South Africa and South America.
Smart city tech such as Midbar's inflatable indoor farm, claiming to be the first of its kind in the world, brings agriculture to any indoor space while addressing sustainability issues by optimizing water efficiency through a mist circulation system. These booths are another way to help firms reach out to a global audience, other than the financial and research and development support given by the government.
We form delegations to places such as CES to help firms meet buyers locally and find partners in order to enter the global market.
And we will try our best to turn what we have found in this event, namely the seeds of innovation, into tangible successes, such as exportation or the partnership with global companies.
Taking into account the fact that CES this year is happening just a little before U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration, there has been discourse surrounding the looming threat of tariffs and his protectionist policies. Amid these concerns, Samsung's vice chairman Han Jong-il made assurances during a briefing that AI-driven innovations in their supply chain can address potential challenges. Meanwhile, South Korea's tech industry also continues to face global competition, particularly over pricing with China.
Korea has also made strides, moving beyond focusing on quantity to improving quality, which I take as a hopeful sign. SK's collaboration with major AI companies in the U.S. shows that South Korean companies are taking a role in AI on the world stage. As a Korean, I think that's something to be proud of.
SK Group's chairman Cha Tae-won reportedly met with NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang to discuss their partnership, expressing his confidence in SK hynix's technology as he revealed that the South Korean tech giant's development speed recently surpassed that of NVIDIA's. Chen noted that while NVIDIA previously pushed SK hynix to accelerate development, the dynamic has shifted. South Korea's growing presence at CES signals commitment to leading the way in cutting-edge technology and fostering meaningful collaborations on the international stage. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News, Las Vegas.
Meanwhile, also in the U.S., ferocious fires blazing across the Los Angeles area have killed at least 5 people, destroyed over 1,000 structures, and forced tens of thousands to evacuate. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
The massive wildfires raging in Los Angeles County have left at least 5 people dead and many others injured, with firefighters struggling to put out the flames. According to local media reports, a wildfire that broke out Tuesday morning in the affluent neighborhood of Pacific Palisades spread uncontrollably due to a localized wind blowing in the LA area. Additional wildfires broke out in the neighborhoods of Eaton and Hearst on Tuesday night, with a 4th starting in Woodley on Wednesday morning. Tens of thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate across LA County, and as of Wednesday afternoon local time, more than 1,000 buildings in the area had been destroyed by the fires. Officials say the fact that strong winds are fueling 4 different wildfires is making it difficult for firefighters to put out the fires.
No, LA County and all 29 fire departments in our county are not prepared for this type of widespread disaster. There are not enough firefighters in LA County to address 4 separate fires of this magnitude.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency as local authorities call it the most destructive fire in LA County history. U.S. President Joe Biden spoke with the governor during his visit to Los Angeles and said the federal government will provide necessary support to fight the fires. Biden also called on affected residents to remain vigilant and listen to local officials on orders. Fire officials say the county is not out of danger yet, with authorities saying more than 13,000 buildings could be destroyed by the wildfires. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, two popular needle crafts using yarn to create fabric that gained traction during the COVID-19 pandemic continue to garner much interest among the youth here in the country. Our Yoon explains.
With a ball of yarn and a crochet needle, even a beginner can easily make a small bag in just 2 hours. The number of views on this detailed instructional video is almost 2 million. Knitting and crocheting became hobbies of interest during the COVID-19 pandemic when many were forced to stay at home. But their popularity remains strong.
It's not a hobby that negatively affects your health, so it really is for everyone. It doesn't need electricity or much space, so it's also very mobile. It's easy to teach anyone with just some needles.
The conventional belief that needlework is a solo hobby has been broken, and it is becoming a healing culture that friends and couples can do together. With more related content on social media, needlework is becoming more accessible. From tools to various sample projects, one-stop knitting shops are crowded with needleworkers. Sales at these knitting shops have increased threefold from 3 years ago.
I come occasionally. I do it at home as well, but there's something more healing about doing it here with other people.
I get a sense of security, and it's satisfying to think I have a new hobby.
From learning how to hold the needle to making the first knot, those interested can easily find instructions through a simple search online. Like meal kits, there are packaged kits that contain yarn, needles, and design patterns, which makes it possible for it to be a self-taught hobby. But there are also various introductory classes available for knitting and crocheting beginners. The knotting and unknotting can sometimes get frustrating, but thinking of gifting it to friends or family quickly makes it enjoyable. The variety of items that are being knitted has expanded, from hair ties and keychains to cardigans and full outfits. This is in line with a recent growing trend of taking the time to create more unique, individualized items.
I think people have started to put more values on things that you cannot just purchase. As more people look to invest their time to find joy, there has been a boost in knitting among young people, making it spread faster.
A rise in alternative consumption culture has also been observed, as the younger generation who used to be busy adapting to trends are finding their own ways to survive an era of high consumer prices. Yoon, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Germany and France have sharply criticized U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's comments on Greenland. This follows Trump's interview on Tuesday, where he said he would not rule out the use of military and economic measures to acquire the Danish autonomous territory. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz emphasized that the principle of inviolability of borders applies to all nations, regardless of their size or power. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot also declared that the European Union would never allow an attack on its borders. Against Trump's ambitions, Denmark has also maintained that Greenland belongs to its residents, while Mette Frederiksen, the Prime Minister of Greenland, has said that the territory is not for sale. The World Organization for Animal Health has called for stronger measures to control the spread of avian influenza following the first human fatality from the virus in the United States. The virus, which has spread globally in recent years, has caused mass death in poultry and other animals, driven up food prices, and raised concerns about the possibility of a new pandemic. WOAH Director General Dr. Monique Alloyd highlighted the importance of risk management to prevent the spread of avian flu and its potential transmission to humans. Dr. Alloyd also warned that if the virus mutates, it could potentially spark a pandemic. She also said vaccine distribution needs to be expanded to help curb the virus spread. Turning to Egypt, a remarkable discovery has been made in the southern archaeological site of Luxor. On Wednesday, Egyptian archaeologist Jahi Hawass announced the discovery of roughly 1,500 intricately decorated stone blocks with vivid color near the temple of Queen Hatshepsut. Queen Hatshepsut, who passed away around 1458 BC during Egypt's 18th dynasty, was one of the few women to rule ancient Egypt. Since 2022, Hawass and his team have been leading excavations at the site. He described the decorated blocks as some of the most beautiful scenes he has encountered in his life. Italian journalist Cecilia Sala has returned home after being detained in an Iranian prison for 3 weeks. Sala, a prominent podcast host and journalist for the Italian daily Il Foglio, arrived safely in Rome on Wednesday afternoon. She had been arrested last December on charges of violating Iran's media laws. Her arrest came shortly after the detention of Iranian businessman Mohammad Abidini in Milan on a U.S. warrant. Italian officials worked swiftly to secure Sala's release, with her return marking a diplomatic success for the nation. Yoon, Arirang News.
This morning, cold wave warnings were issued for most parts of the country due to the extreme cold, with the feels-like temperature in Seoul falling to around minus 20 degrees Celsius. The severe cold will continue until tomorrow. With the actual temperature hitting minus 12 degrees in Seoul, the feels-like temperatures will remain around minus 15. With heavy snow advisory already being issued, some west coast areas of the Jeollado provinces have heavy snow warnings in place. More than 30 centimeters of more snow is expected in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island until tomorrow, more than 20 in the Jeollabuk-do province, and up to 15 centimeters in west coast areas of Chungcheongnam-do province and Jeollanam-do province. Tomorrow morning, most areas will start off at around minus 10 degrees with Chuncheon and minus 19 degrees. Highs will move up to only minus 2 degrees in Seoul, Busan 3 degrees. The extreme cold spell will gradually ease off from the weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching.